What's up, yo? What's up? Top Hammer here again with a live stream here. I haven't gone live in a while, so this is gonna be like a quick impromptu. I scheduled this live, I think, to be for tomorrow, but I have things I have planned tomorrow, so let me just hop on here and get this off my chest. Also, I know Art is about to go live around 9, so I'll make sure that end a little earlier. I may be on his panel today. We'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna talk about something that I just came across. Well, I came across a couple days ago, right? Which really caught my eye, and I feel like it's important that we talk about this and cover this, right? What I'm going to cover and talk about is the fact of the issue in regards to reparations. Now, when I say reparations, right, many of you guys are going to assume like reparations of Black Americans, reparations for the Black Diaspora, here and that. But no, I'm talking about reparations for Ukraine. So, as the United States is doing a study on reparations in America, as the United States is telling Black Americans that, reparation thing of the past, they need to get over it. As the United States is literally doing everything they possibly can to not address the history of Jim Crow and slavery, apparently they are now trying to push a vote in the UN, trying to quote unquote force, if not pressure, Russia to pay reparations to Ukraine. Let me say it again. The United States, European allies, are trying to get Russia to pay reparations to Ukraine. Say, oh my God, this is immeasurable damage and losses. Now, the reason why this gets me so triggered and so mad, right, is the fact that all of the European powers that are essentially pushing for quote unquote trying to make this argument of reparations, right? They don't accept that for themselves. When Elizabeth II, I think, died, right? I think it was a couple of months ago. You had the entire Black Diaspora, Black Caribbeans, Black Africans, even Black Americans, talking about all of the fucking shit the British Empire did, all the history. And if you were to watch any really mainstream Western channel, the amount of whitewashing that was there for Queen Elizabeth II was on a whole new level. It really was. It was on a whole new level, right? But, despite all of that, Black Americans and Black diaspora to call out. And every time the issue of reparations came up, every time Black Americans, Black Caribbeans, Black Africans, Black diasporans brought up the history of Queen Elizabeth II, brought up the history of Congress, brought up all the history. What we heard collectively all across the world, from France to Britain to the United States, was you all need to stop complaining. You all need to get over it. And you all need to quote unquote just accept you wasn't get your right. I'm like, you literally have some people saying that, oh, it was a long time ago. Oh, stop being a victim. And you know what? I'm actually going to make another video, I think, tomorrow about can black people be victims? Because we hear, don't be bad, but I feel like for you to be a victim, your humanity has to be recognized. And I think the reason why Black Americans Black people in general, can be viewed as victims because you're not viewed as human, But that's another video I'll get. But whenever the issue turns into what Europeans did and the reparations we asked from them, all these excuses start coming out, right? Pull yourself by your own bootstraps. Stop complaining. Get over it, right? That was the past. This is what we're here. So imagine how I felt. And I'm going to shut my screen real quick. Imagine how I felt, right? I think it was last night I found this out. when I am scrolling, through Chrome, right? Scrolling through my news feed, and this is what I see. I'm just minding my own business. I'm just scrolling through my news feed, minding my own business, and this is the headline I see. Right, this was posted in the debate. The UN Resolution to saying Russia must pay reparations. And this is for Ukraine. And of course, you have all these. You have America and the European nation behind it. But let me read this. But before I even read this, right? My question is this: why hasn't there been any resolution in regards to all the shit that America has done? Why hasn't there been any resolution in regards to all of the European stuff? Why is it that Black Americans, the Black Diaspora, has been spending years rallying the UN, rallying the world for reparations? Because here's the thing: look, if you're a Black American, right, your claim to reparations is going to be to U.S. government. If you're someone in the Caribbean, your claim to reparations is going to be from the British. If you're someone from West Africa, more than likely from France. But it all comes down to the Black Diaspora group asking for reparations from the quote-unquote white collective. That's really what it comes down to. And if I was in this room, I would veto this resolution. Remember, guys, this is not legally binding, but the problem is that it sets down, it literally sets a foundation in which they can use to quote-unquote go after Russia for sanctions. They'll find creative ways to get Russia to pay. And I hope these African leaders vote again, because it's such a spit in the face. It's such an insult in the face, especially to Black Africans, especially the Black diasporas. That the same folks that have been telling us for years that we're with reparations are not going to turn around and say that Russia needs to pay reparations to Ukraine. See, we had a whole campaign for the past couple of years about Black Lives Matter. I'm really starting to believe it's White Lives Matter. Based on what I'm seeing here, this Ukraine situation, this Ukraine conversation is starting to make me believe, really, it's White Lives Matter. That's really what they're saying. You can go through slavery. You can go through Jim Crow. You can go through being colonized and being a colony to the West, and they'll tell you to stop being a victim. They'll tell you they'll tell you to get over it. But as soon as a white country in Eastern Europe gets attacked for what, 2 or 3 months, they got all this money, billions of dollars. Remember how you have folks say, well, we don't have the money. The U.S. we will go broke, And as soon as Ukraine came, they were they're still sending money. Billions and billions and billions and billions being sent over to Ukraine. When it came to the British, when Queen Elizabeth II died, right? You had all them folks lining up saying, well, you know what? All these Africans, all these Black diasporans, y'all to get over slavery. We ain't paying you shit. We don't got no money. Turns around, Britain is signing billions of dollars to Ukraine. It's ridiculous. And so because y'all sanctioned Russia, and look, Joe, you're not slick, okay? This entire Ukraine war really came down to, in my opinion, came down to the fact that essentially the American hegemonic empire is slowly coming to an end. That's really what's happening. The American hegemonic empire is slowly coming to an end. And so, really, what y'all are trying to do is trying to hold on. And so you guys move some, weapons, long-range missiles, ICBMs to Ukraine, right? Y'all move weapons over to trying to provoke Russia. It worked. Then you use Russia's reaction as a prerequisite to essentially sanction hell out of them, right? And look, we give them the goal, right? You sanction hell out of Russia, you weaken Russia, and then you go ahead and encircle China. It backfired. Russia was hit. They bounced back. But now it's the West. It's now Europe. It's now America that's having economic blowback. To a point at which now you have the Pentagon calling the Russians trying to, quote unquote, mediate things. But see, that wasn't enough. Now what y'all trying to do is, you know what? In addition to all the billions of dollars sent to Ukraine, in addition to all the help we sent to Ukraine, in addition to all the goodies we sent to Ukraine, now we're going to go to the UN and try to fucking pressure Russia to pay reparations to Ukraine. I think what gets me so mad about this is that Joe Biden and the Democrats, right? And it's not just America, right? Queen Elizabeth, you have the UK. Because look, first you had, quote unquote, the quote unquote FBA, ADOS movement, calling for reparations. And the message we got from Republicans and white liberals was, you ain't getting shit. Then, but because that's for Black Americans. Then we had a situation with Queen Elizabeth, right? Queen Elizabeth dies. And now the Black Diaspora, Black Caribbeans, Black Africans are calling for reparations. And we're told, get over it. This, to me, this better not happen. Now, remember, guys, this is not legally binding. But I feel what's going to happen is that they're going to use these votes as a prerequisite to try to find ways to get Russia to pay, which I hope does not happen. And I will really veto it if I was there. But the irony, they're so quick. So quick. But see, I personally believe the reason why this triggered me so much, especially as a Black man, in my opinion, is the fact that it really does show how much Black lives don't matter. It really does show how much power does matter. You can have essentially, someone Black or whatever be gunned down the streets. You can have Africans in West Africa who are under, the quote unquote CFA franc, who are under, terrorized by the West. Nobody cares. As soon as you have a white country like Ukraine, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people being gunned down, now all of a sudden they want to scream. Now, see, and you know what? Let me go read this. The funny part is that when you read this article, they always try to portray Ukrainians as victims, which is interesting because whenever Black folks talk about the struggles and what Europeans them, right? We're always told, stop being a victim. And I truly believe that what that really means is that Black people cannot be victims because you're not human. But let me go ahead and read this article real quick. And of course, y'all, I think I'm going to go ahead and hop on arts later on today. But let me go ahead and do a quick read on this. Let's read this real quickly. Okay. All right. The UN General Assembly is scheduled to vote Monday on a resolution that will call for Russia to be held accountable for violating international law by invading Ukraine, including paying reparations. Now, here's the thing. So, when the United States was, when the United States invaded Iraq, that was a violation of international law. But for some reason, I didn't see this coming up. I didn't see America being required to pay reparations. Let's keep going. The draft resolution obtained Thursday by the Associated Press, who recognized the need to establish an international mechanism for reparation for damage, loss of injury arising from Russia's wrongful acts against Ukraine. Oh my God. So what about the wrongful acts of the United States? What about the wrongful acts of the British? What about the wrongful acts of fucking France? What about all the shit they did? So what you're telling me is we're going to let all these white Europeans, all these Western white nations off the hook. But you want me to quote unquote what? Go at Russia? But it's interesting how you guys said that, the damage, loss or injury, and wrongful acts. So you guys can, so it was you guys understand, you guys can understand wrongful acts when it comes to Ukraine. But you can understand wrongful acts when it comes to the Black Diaspora. It's ridiculous. It will recommend the Assembly's 193 member nations, in cooperation with Ukraine, create an international register. Wow. To document claims and information on damage, loss, or injury to Ukrainians and the government caused by Russia. Now, y'all, look at this. Look at this, right? So they're trying to create an international register, right, where every single Ukrainian who feels like they were somehow wrongfully hurt or wrongfully, damaged by the war in Ukraine, by Russian invasion, can make a claim against Russia, against the gun Russia. Right? This is what's so funny about this. Because whenever we talk about reparations, whenever we talk about slavery, whenever we talk about these issues, right, what do we typically hear? We'll hear some white conservative talking about, well, you know what? Why should I, as an individual white person, be blamed for slavery? But it's like, dude, this has nothing to do with the individual white, right? We're making a case against the government, against the state. That's the whole point. The same thing applies when it comes to Jamaica. The same thing applies when it comes to Africans. The claim is not being made against individual white folks. The claim is being made against the state, the nation states. But it's interesting how when it comes to quote unquote the Black Diaspora, when it comes to black folks nationally trying to make the claim, the conversation always goes to, oh, you hate white folks, right? Oh, I wasn't a part of slavery. It always turns to an individual thing. But you see how when it comes to Ukraine, they made it very clear it's about the government of Russia. Fucking God. So all this gaslighting they quote unquote do to us, to the Black Diaspora, making it seem as if it's about individual white folks. When it came to Russia, they made it very clear this has nothing to do with the individual Russian. We are making a claim to the Russian government. Unbelievable. Bruh, I swear to God, I will veto that shit. No. Until these white Europeans pay the Black Diaspora reparations, I don't want to hear this shit. I don't. I fucking don't. This is getting me triggered. Okay. Russia's veto power in the 15th member Security Council has blocked the UN's most powerful body from taking any actions since President Vladimir Putin ordered his forces to invade Ukraine on February 24th. Now, here's the issue, okay? Y'all need to shut the fuck up about the veto in the Permanent Security Council. The United States loves using the veto. Anytime you have an issue that pertains to the U.S., America has no problem vetoing shit. America has no problem using the veto to essentially escape responsibility. Stop. Okay. But there are no vetoes in the General Assembly, which already has adopted 4 resolutions criticizing. The problem I have when it comes to the quote-unquote resolutions against Russia is that I don't see this energy against white Europeans. I don't see this energy. I'm like, bruh, when you had George Floyd being killed, where were the resolutions? Where are the resolutions in regards to France? Where are the resolutions in regards to the UK? Let's keep going. Unlike Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding, but they do reflect world opinion and have demonstrated widespread opposition to Russia's military action. See, a lot of these resolutions in general, in my opinion, right, are not, number one, not legally binding, but they don't actually represent the real like geopolitical situation. A lot of these countries will go out there and vote against Russia in the General Assembly because it's cheap votes. It's not legally binding. They'll do that, and then when they leave, they'll still treat Russia. They'll do that, and then when they leave, they'll quote unquote still not side with the West. So just because of voting, that does not mean they're going to quote unquote start sanctioning Russia here and there. That's the reason why Saudi Arabia voted against Russia, but yet helped Russia essentially cut the OPEC production. Let's see this. The proposed resolution is co-sponsored by Canada, Guatemala, Netherlands, and Ukraine. General Assembly spokeswoman Paulina Kubia said Tuesday that there will not be a debate on the resolution, but countries can give an explanation of the vote before and after the Assembly takes action. The resolution will reaffirm the General Assembly's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity, and reiterate its demand for Russia to immediately cease its use of force against Ukraine and withdraw all of its force from Ukraine. Let me read this and cut off here. It would express grave concern at the loss of life, civilian displacement, destroyed infrastructure, natural resources, loss of public and private property, and economic calamity caused by the Russian Federation aggression against Ukraine. Okay, so when you had the burning down of Black Wall Street, when you had Jim Crow, when you have I'm like, white Europeans have been terrorizing the Black Diaspora for hundreds of years. Because look, in the United States, there have been great loss of life, civil displacement, destruction, loss of public property, economic calamity that was done by the white American population against Black Americans for decades. But I don't see this resolution being made in the United Nations. The same thing when it comes to Black Africans and all the shit that was done to them. But see, what this tells me is that because Ukrainians have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they look like your mother, they look like your white family, you're much more inclined to quote unquote sympathize with them. Anyway, y'all, I'm just gonna leave it there. And you guys can go and check the article if you guys want to. Social, but look, I really do hope that this resolution is not passed. I think this will be an insult, an incredible insult, really, to the Black Diaspora. Now, up until now, African nations have been abstaining when it comes to votes against Russia because we've always known from the get-go that all of this shit was all pathetic. Okay, because when the West is the ones causing problems, causing issues, there's all this outrage is nowhere to be found. But as soon as, and we knew what it was, because Ukraine was a white country, now all of a sudden they cared. But it's crazy to me. So I really do hope this does not get passed. Now, here's the thing, guys, it's not legally binding, but I think the fear is that once they get us to the UN, like this kind of quote unquote declaration or whatever, resolution declaration, then they can use this as a prerequisite to try and pressure Russia in many ways. Because at the end of the day, they still do have control over the financial system. But it just shows you how, you can't have justice without power. Even the civil rights laws that Black Americans got was really because America was in the Cold War. And the Soviet Union kept using Jim Crow against them. So, we'll see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, man, look, I am fucking pissed as hell. All right, y'all. I think I'm gonna let it go from here. Now, you guys put in the chat what you guys think about this. What are your thoughts? And hammer out.